Chapter 1237 as I continue my series of reviews of the Child's Play and Chucky franchise. And now we come to the last in chronology of the original series leading up until the 2019 remake, which I have already reviewed the remake. It's the last one I had to do before I actually get around to Child's Play 2. For some reason, I just wanted to revisit these unfamiliar ones first. And it's 2017's Cult of Chucky. Now, and I did see this back in 2017. Saw it on Netflix, which I think it premiered on. And I haven't seen it since. Saw it just the once. I remember liking it when I watched it, but revisiting it now, I have to say, this is the only one in the entire series, including the remake, so 8 films, that I don't know what my opinion is. 1 through 3, I'm a fan of. Bride, I'm kind of half and half, like and dislike. That's like a 40-50%. Seed, I don't like. Curse, I do like. This one, I don't even know. Like, I'm not even torn. I think a more appropriate title would be Fan Fiction of Chucky, because this is taken in such a wild, far-fetched direction, especially towards the ending, that it feels like crazy fan fiction. And it is the direct follow-up to Curse, taking place 4 years later. But it seems like some stuff from Curse was either forgotten or... Excuse me. This movie is very picky and choosy with what it wants to use. And while it does end on a note like, what's going to happen next? We just blew the doors open. We can do anything we want now. And to my understanding, the Chucky series from Sci-Fi that I have no interest in checking out is a sequel to this. It does have Fiona Dourif and whatnot in it. It has this feeling kind of like a legit final chapter where it is just a culmination of everything. Because it references everything. Or it has references from everything. Every sequel going all the way back to the original. I would say this is a sequel you could just pick up and watch at random if you want to get into the series. It's not quite as heavy with its horror references, which I forgot to mention in Curse. I don't think there was too many. There are a couple in this. It kind of has the tone of Curse. You know, it's still dark and serious, but it has more comedic moments than Curse. And it definitely feels direct-to-video. I mean, Seed was the last one to be released theatrically, but going all the way back to Seed, I would say Curse looks and feels more like a theatrical film. Seed and this definitely look direct-to-video. I would almost say Seed feels like there's more production value in it than this one. And of course, Don Mancini, writer of all the films, director of them all since Seed, directs this one again. And I don't know if it's just because I went from Seed to Curse, that you can go back to my review for Curse, that one of the biggest highlights of that film was Don Mancini's direction. I was very impressed with the way he set up some shots, the execution of some scenes, the cinematography, the way the music was used. I was very impressed with his direction. Here, not so much. I think the setting helps the direction somewhat, because it is this super, ultra sterile, you know, all white, all steel, a mental hospital with very wide, narrow corridors that you can get some sort of Kubrickian shots. And I say that very generously. But of course, it was again produced by David Kirshner, but this time there's the producer Ogden Gabansky. Returning to the cast, you have Fiona Dourif, Michael Theriot, Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay, which he appeared in the post-credit scene of Curse. Now he has an actual role in this, albeit a small one. I feel like his role should have been bigger. It should have been equal with Fiona Dourif's, but it's not. It's not really much of anything. And his official return to the series since 91. So it had been 26 years. And Jennifer Tilly and Brad Dourif. Now, I wanted to get the name, actually, of... Okay, I can't click on it. Multiple Malcolm, who's a fellow patient, played by Adam Hertig. I don't know if that's the arresting officer from the end of Curse, but it looked a lot like him. But basically, we pick up 4 years... Oh, actually, before I get into that, Michael Marshall returned for the cinematography. Joseph Loduca returned for the music. I do like the music in this one. I don't think it's as strong as Curse. I think this one might have a bit more of an 80s vibe than Curse, but I still thought the music was one of the stronger elements of the film. It made $2.3 million by October 2017, just in home video sales, which I think it dropped in like October. So within the month of October, the month of its release, it made $2 million. So we pick up 4 years after the events of Curse. It actually opens up on a date with Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay. He's on a date with this girl that he's been seeing. She doesn't like guns. Turns out she Googled his name, freaked out by, he says he has guns for home protection. She's freaked out by his past and kind of pretty much dumps him. But then he goes home to this cabin out in the woods where we see he has a pretty big gun collection. He's living like a paranoid person out in the woods. And in his safe, he has nailed to a wooden little stand the bloodied, disembodied head for the Chucky doll that was sent to him in the post-credit scene. And he systematically tortures it. We cut back to that 2 or 3 times throughout the film. And then the rest of the film is Nika, played by Fiona Dourif. Of course, she's been sent to asylum. Sorry. And she's been getting counseling. I guess she's in maximum security, but there's transferring her to a medium security. And this movie probably has the laziest writing out of all of them in the series. I would probably say lazier than Seed, because at least with Seed, that's a comedy. It's not really meant to be taken seriously. Here, though, like, her doctor, Dr. Foley, tells her that one of the perks to medium security is that there's no cameras. No security cameras. Which I'm going to call bullshit. I'm going to say that that's what the story is, just so that they don't see a Chucky doll running around doing stuff, and so that she can still look crazy, like she can still look guilty. And pretty much the whole thing is, it's actually an idea that Mancini had since he was developing Child's Play 3, which is he wanted the idea of multiple Chuckies. But due to the budget of Child's Play 3, he couldn't use it, so he held on to it until this film. And I would say that could be interesting. That could be a neat idea. But I feel like they don't really do anything with it. Not much. Kind of. And one thing that I questioned in Curse was when Nika is able to attack that Chucky doll, chop off his head with an axe. It's just a doll head that pops off and he can put back on. She stabs him. It's just fluff that comes out. I was thinking, like, is it... So, if it's not the original Chucky, is it just a doll that's alive? It doesn't have, the biological makeup. Turns out, that's only the case when they need it to be. There's Chuckies in here that can come apart like a doll, or not feel pain and fall apart. And there's Chuckies that when they get killed, or they need to get fucked up, then yeah, there's blood and gore within them. So it's very picky and choosy. It does have some decent kills. The biggest one probably being this scene, even though it's not Fiona Dourif. Very similar to the a honeymoon couple where Tiffany throws the champagne bottle, breaks the mirror, falls on the waterbed. But here, I would say, it's probably the most cinematic shot in the whole film, which I'll get to. Now, as for Chucky himself, the look of the doll, I mean, since they're not all the original one, they have done away with the stitched together Frankenstein monster look. That's only the one that's with Andy at his cabin. The rest are all pretty much newer, put together, good guy dolls. No makeup covering them up. The look of the doll normally, like when it's just a doll that anyone can pick up and carry, it is better than Curse, but not as good as the originals. When he's actually alive, I thought it was decent. It is a step up from Curse overall, but I did like the look of him when he was like this. Again, even though I'm not a fan of the stitched together cut up Chucky. So, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on the look of him. As for the character of Chucky, there really is no character. I mean, he doesn't really have any one-liners or really get to say much of anything. I wouldn't say Brad Dourif sounds as bored as he did in Seed. He does have maybe a little bit more, if not just as much to say as he did in Curse. Maybe he has a little bit more. But it feels like someone else writing Chucky. He doesn't have any good lines, or, he doesn't really say anything threatening. Some of the lines are kind of stupid. Like when you get three Chuckies together, they're all saying, which one of us is going to go kill Andy? It was like, I should because of this. And they're like, both the other two Chuckies are just like, oh, yeah, sure, man. Whatever you say, man. You go fuck him up. But I do like the idea that the idea of multiple Chuckies does kind of play in to how he's trying to fuck with Nika. Because where it looks like they got rid of one doll, but there's still another one that can be doing stuff. There is the interesting idea of Nika trying to commit suicide. And Chucky decides to stitch her arm back up. And then right in her blood, like, not so fast. Which, she cut herself this way. I don't think a doll's going to be able to stitch that together, especially with no real means of being able to do so. Even though it shows that, like, the front desk, all the drawers have all the scalpels and everything you need in it for anyone to get a hold of. It's a very small hospital. There's, like, one doctor, two orderlies. There's her. There's the angry woman that supposedly set fire to her house. The delusional woman that thinks Chucky is her baby. a multiple Malcolm, who his alternate personalities are famous people, like Michael Phelps and Mark Zuckerberg. And then this elderly woman who is schizophrenic and thinks no one can see her and everything she sees is not real. They're all being killed off. Some of them look like suicides, some are obvious murders, but the doctor's pretty much convinced that Nika is involved in it, and she still swears that Chucky's real and Chucky's the one doing it, and you know, it's just making her look more and more crazy throughout the film. Now, I like movies like that. I always go to Candyman, where it looks like this person is guilty as hell, but they're not, and there's no way they can prove it. But of course, because of the writing of this film, there's no cameras. And her doctor is also a creep. He puts her under hypnosis. And even during one session, he says, like, what if I told you we do have cameras? But that footage got deleted. Which they don't show that, but okay. And he's a creep because when she's under hypnosis, she doesn't remember anything when she wakes up. And he likes to essentially have his way with her. It doesn't really show anything. It shows him kissing her the first time. And then the second time, he turns into Jerry Brudos and puts red high heel shoes on her. We do get the appearance from Tiffany, who she shows up pretty much to say that she's Alice, the young niece from Curse, is her guardian. And, oh, I'm sorry, but she died, but she wanted you to have this. And it's another Chucky. And Jennifer Tilly is over the top in this. Every line she says, it's like a very loud, like, wow, you know what they always say. Like, it's so over the top. And I guess their reference to Seed was when Nika sees her, she's like, you look so much like Jennifer Tilly. Because she is Jennifer Tilly. Even within the world of the film, she is the actress Jennifer Tilly still. There was a scene of that referenced Glenn and Glenda that Mancini really wanted to keep, but it got cut, thankfully. And yeah, more Chuckies show up, more people get killed. She looks responsible, and it's up to Andy, who knows what's going on. He knows about Nika in her case, and he wants to help her. Excuse me. One time when we cut back, we see that there's a thing he's watching on his computer where he brings the head of Chucky to Dr. Foley, shoots it, and Chucky screams. But Foley thinks it's just like some sort of gag that's supposed to work that way, that it's not real. We see that Andy has his own Chucky, where the hair is cut short. And I've seen reviews where people say this was done for no reason, or they don't know why they did that. Or they thought, oh, they had to tell all three apart somehow, because you have regular Chucky, the one that was buried, because the woman that thinks Chucky is her baby, you find out that she smothered her baby, and she tries to smother Chucky again. And then she comes to terms with what she did, so to help with therapy, they bury Chucky sort of in lieu of her real child. And then he comes back. So we have regular Chucky, the one that's been buried and is all dirty. We need the short hair one so we can tell. No, there is a reason, and I think it's so Andy can tell which one is his, because there's a gun inside him that he needs to get. That's why he sent that Chucky. And all leading up to this wild, so left field ending. But I guess to talk about the kills, I mean, The elderly woman looks like she commits suicide the same way Nika tried to, but Chucky did it to her. The one woman that's strapped down to the gurney underneath the sunlight. Chucky has a can of the compressed oxygen, and he has lines like, compressed. Does that mean what I think it means? He just hits it off the floor, it goes up. And with the music and everything, this is probably the best scene in the whole movie. We see her POV of the glass cracking, CGI, and it falling, and then we get this wide shot. It actually kind of looks like this, with the glass just falling in slow motion. It pretty much, we only see it decapitate her. When the one that got buried comes back, he kind of does a mercy kill, like she's ready to die. The screwed up mother, the of Andrea Yates, essentially. Yes, I know Andrea Yates drowned her boys, didn't smother them, but whatever. And there's a point where she's even breastfeeding Chucky. When she puts her shirt back on, there's a little bit of blood, as if like he bit her. And he does like the, I'm your friend till the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha. She says a boy's best friend is his mother. So, again with the Psycho references. Which I think there's been one in almost every film since Seed. But when he comes back after being buried, she's ready to die, and she says, is it gonna hurt? And he's like, I'll do my best. And he just reaches down her throat and pulls out a bunch of stuff. But see, when they find her, it looks like he just popped off his doll arm, stuffed it down her throat, or it looks like she did it. But no gore or anything, so lazy writing. When they need a Chucky doll to somewhat be real with blood, whatever, they do. When they want him to just be a doll that can come apart, they do. And the Chucky dolls were created by Tony Gardner, who I think's been in every film, or done Chucky for every film since Seed. He even played like a full body costume in whatever scenes were needed. Who else was there? The guy Multiple Malcolm, who we're supposed to believe Chucky possessed at one point. He even says his name is Charles. He gets a drill to the head. But, so I guess spoilers here, but I don't know. If you're a Chucky completist, or if you, well, actually, I can't even say if you really love the character, because there's not much of the character in it. It almost feels like a Chucky impersonator. Like, just, the writing isn't there. Similar to Seed, like, unless he's laughing or screaming, it doesn't sound like your typical excellent Chucky performance. Not as bored as Seed, but yeah. Whatever. I'm spoiling the ending. And it's messed up for a lot of reasons. Chucky keeps knocking out Dr. Foley when he puts her in hypnosis and starts touching her. It says like, and they call me sick, but this guy's just diabolical. Keeps knocking him out, trying to get Nika to kill him. Which, even the second time when she's in her wheelchair, in a straitjacket, he tries handing her broken glass, be like, go ahead, kill him, but she's in a fucking... And that's when they find Andy's short-haired Chucky, which at this point Andy's shown up. They won't let him inside, so he commits himself, and he just waits in his cell. They bring Andy's Chucky to life, so there's 3 of them in there. They decide that his can go kill Andy. He's like, look what he did in my hair. And the scenes when all three of them are together, it's meant to be played for laughs because they're all acting goofy. Like, I never felt so alive. Well, you've only been alive for 2 minutes. And then the main one starts to... And some people have said, if he knows how to do this, put his soul in multiple things, why hasn't he done it already? He did say that he found an updated thing on voodooForDummies.com, like this new lost spell. So it's like this new thing that he found, conveniently. And it is a new chant. But starts to do it to Nika. And Nika was born paralyzed. She's never stood up. Apparently, if you're possessed, you can then gain full control over your faculties. Because when she wakes up, she literally does like this vampiric stand. But even if she could do that, like, she never stood up. So her leg muscles are useless. It wouldn't be able to hold up her own weight. But I know, that's the least of my worry, least of anybody's worries with this film. But yeah, if a paralyzed person is possessed, then they can walk. And Foley is still knocked out, and she uses her heels to stomp on his head several times, caves the fucking out of his face. It was kind of neat to see Fiona Dourif possessed by Chucky, who is her father, Brad Dourif. That scene when she walks through somewhat slow motion, the way her hair is, she's got the trench coat, she already looks like, you can definitely tell she's his daughter. Just looks like an 80s long-haired Brad Dourif. And then when she's doing Chucky's laugh, it doesn't sound as iconic, but her version of it. Even a scene when she's doing the laugh with another Chucky, it is kind of cool. I mean, sure, some might call it gimmicky or something, but I thought it was kind of, like, that's really cool. And Fiona Dourif being in these films was not like a Jaden Smith kind of thing where the lead just wants his kid in it, so give it to her. But no, she is a capable actress as well. And so then, short-haired Chucky makes it to Andy's cell. They have a bit of a tussle, but Andy just reaches in him, grabs his pistol, which is why he cut his hair so we could tell which one was his. Shoots him, then he stomps on his head, and I mean, it looks like it's full of chili. Decent gore effects. Decent practical gore effects. But the police are coming, and Nika, now possessed, is like, you're it, pal. Locks him in, so now he's stuck in there. And then she goes out to meet Tiffany, where they reunite, they kiss, they leave together. We see that Tiffany killed the guard outside, where she says, a true classic never goes out of style. From Bride of Chucky. She even points that out. You told me that once, after he stabbed a guy 39 times. And this is the first time, we've really seen Chucky as a human, other than Charles Lee Ray, really become someone other than another doll in the entire franchise. So that was neat in the idea alone. They get in the car and they talk. I don't know, because they're talking about, like, it was kind of nice having Alice around. It was nice having a child around. And then Chucky Nika's like, fuck that kid. And then they both start laughing, but there's a Tiffany doll in the back that starts sharing their laughter. I don't know if they put Alice in a doll, if that's part Tiffany. Wikipedia says is part Tiffany. I thought it was Alice. And then it ends. And yeah, I'm so mixed on this film. I mean, it's so wild and left field. When I first saw this, I was like, okay, now where the hell did they go with it? I mean, if I watched the show, then I would know, but I don't really want to. It definitely feels like a bridge film. It's continuing Curse, but it's just like, it does this for 90 minutes. It's like, just wait to see what we got next. But it ends up being the show. And it just has that wild fan fiction feel. I mean, I would have minded a movie with 2 or 3 Chuckies. I like the idea that it's in a mental hospital, which, and I think there was a couple things that was a reference to Cuckoo's Nest, because, you know, there's a line where the schizophrenic lady is talking to Chucky and he's just had enough of it. He's like, fucking Cuckoo's Nest. Because Brad Dourif, one of his best roles, his first role of Billy Bibbit, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of the greatest movies of all time. I love it. Great book as well. Even when Nika first gets to the hospital, the orderly gives her some gum. She gives a stick of gum to Malcolm. And he's like, of juicy fruit, which was a line from Cuckoo's Nest as well. So I don't know if any of those were just a reference to Cuckoo's Nest because Brad Dourif was in it, but I don't know. It had decent kills, decent gore, even if the biggest kill was pretty much straight out of Bride of Chucky. Very referential of the whole franchise. It does have the post-credit scene where Kyle, from Child's Play 2, arrives at Andy's cabin in his absence to continue torturing the original Chucky head. 2 is still the best sequel. 2 is still the best Child's Play movie after the original. If you're going for a Chucky movie, that was the best, you know, because the first one has, you know, is mostly build up until the reveal. But 2, best sequel. The tone is kind of off. It's continuing that dark, serious tone from Curse, but it feels like they're trying to be funny. The writing is very lazy. The acting really, Fiona Dourif does carry it well. It was sad that, and I don't blame Alex Vincent for being kind of dry as Andy, but he's really not given anything to do. He might have 5 minutes of screen time altogether. It took me a bit to get used to the look of Chucky. Had he had better writing, better lines, and more scenes where he actually speaks, because he doesn't really speak that much in it either, then I think it would have made up a bit for his look. The look is still a step up from Curse, I'll give it that. But I'm having a very difficult time weighing out whether I mean, I guess at best it's a half and half movie like Bride. I could probably sit through this more than Bride. I'm not sure why. But I can definitely see why they went to a show instead of another on-demand film. And maybe Mancini's direction was a fluke in Curse. Because, I mean, other than the skylight death and some of the shots in like the corridors and how that looks and the ultra sterile look of the environment and the setting, the direction wasn't much, especially compared to Curse. And Curse wasn't like a Scorsese film, but you know, compared to Seed, it was impressive. And I didn't really want to talk about this film that long, but so yeah, that was the last movie before they did the remake and then the TV show. And I'll probably do a ranking. I don't know if I'll do a ranking video, but the only one I have left is the Classic 2. But there is something else that I want to watch before I get to that. So, essentially, that is the Chucky Child's Play series. Just -2, which I'll get to. But thank you for watching.